Welcome to the Fiercely Visible CEO podcast. I'm your host, Steph Wharton. Join me as we dive into how to become a widely in-demand CEO that prioritizes balance between life and business, isn't afraid of making the scary decisions that get you results you actually care about, and unapologetically breaks the rules to build the business and life of your dreams. One of the easiest ways to make sure that you are making business easy is really to make sure that everything that you do is in alignment, that it feels good, that it's something that you're excited about. I have a really cool freaking story. It's kind of this realization that I've had recently where I'm operating myself in my business in a way that is very aligned with my human design. Now, I want to give you a big disclaimer here. I am not a human design expert. All I've done when it comes to human design is I pulled my free chart online, which gave me some of the key details as to what type I am under human design. I did a bunch of Googling to try and understand it. And I was lucky enough that one of my clients, she is so freaking amazing. She is a mindset coach as well as a designer, and she has been learning a ton about human design. So she was able to put on a training inside of the Booked Out Collective all about that. So I've been able to, within the last couple of weeks, be a little bit more exposed to what human design is all about. But with that said, I mentioned I'm not an expert, so take the specifics of the human design conversation with a grain of salt. But what I want you to take away is just the power that being in alignment with what you're doing can have in your life and business, because I'm starting to realize some really cool shit. And it's almost these realizations, they're basically validating that I'm on the right track. And some of the things that I've noticed now make more sense. So let me introduce a little bit about my human design as I understand it as a non-human design expert. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a generator. So that in itself can, for any of you that do know human design, can say a lot about me, right? I do tend to have a lot of energy. I think I heard somebody say that generators are like the life force of the world. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds pretty on point. But when it comes to the different sections within human design, my strategy is to respond. So this is essentially how I interact with the world and with the things going on around me, while my authority is the emotional solar plexus, which is how I make decisions. So this is what essentially these two items, the strategy and my authority, are the ones that have allowed me to realize that recently I made a decision that was in true alignment with how I'm supposed to operate within my human design in order to live out the way, like the path of least resistance, the path that I'm meant to be leading, the way that I'm meant to be making decisions in order to be truly happy and live in my, let's call it like purpose and be satisfied kind of thing, right? So essentially, when it comes to the strategy to respond, the way that it can look like from my understanding is that I can just respond to things that are presenting themselves to me. So it could be things that I notice in the online space. It could be things that I notice in real life, opportunities that I see that come up. And essentially, I'm just responding to things that are presenting themselves to me as part, let's say the universe is presenting them to me, right? Whereas then if that feels like a hell yes or a hell no, you know, at least initially, whether that's something that's ideal for you to pursue or not. Whereas then the authority, as when it comes to how to make decisions, my authority being emotional solar plexus, it's all about waiting for clarity, waiting for the stronger, more emotional, let's say, waves to pass by. And then once those emotions settle, then listen and make a decision based on that. So now that you have a little bit of that background on how my human design operates or what it is, let me tell you a freaking story. So last summer, I don't know if it was like the beginning, the middle of the end, but at this point, it feels like it happened so freaking long ago. I had this idea to launch a workshop and I was really freaking excited about it. I was like, this is going to be epic. Like, so many people, I'm sure they're going to need it. They're going to love it. And I have all these ideas for a framework for the workshop itself as to how I'm going to be delivering all the content and how I'm going to be facilitating the transformation for everybody that decides to sign up. But at the time, something was, I don't know, it was basically telling me that maybe it's not the right time. And I did talk to my coach and I told them about this really cool idea that I had. And they brought up a couple reasons why it might not actually be the right time. And it was very solid advice. So I decided to table it. Now, months passed, and this now brings us to the holidays. So this was around December of last year. So what is that, like 3 months ago now? Maybe 2 months ago? I was looking forward at the coming year and trying to figure out, okay, what kind of offers do I want to put together? What do I want my business to look like, right? Do I want to continue to offer the same packages that I've been offering up to now? Or do I want to switch things up a little bit? And something that I was noticing at that time is that one of my favorite offers, which is, just for context, the Fiercely Visible CEO workshop, which is the workshop all about my signature visibility framework, which you're now very well familiar on. I realized that I loved throwing that workshop. It was a smaller offer, but ridiculously jam packed. And it had so much power for like a big transformation to help you get visible and build more awareness about around your brand and all the good stuff that I'm really passionate about. But it was the format that I really liked. I liked the way that the content was delivered. And then it was allowing space for a lot of coaching and mentorship along the way. And because it's workshop style, the main goal was for all members to start taking action within the program itself, as opposed to another course or group program where people learn a lot of information, but you don't necessarily have the allotted time to implement. So essentially, just the workshop style I really loved. So I started to brainstorm all these different ideas for workshops that I could offer based on things that I was very well experienced on and had a lot of knowledge in, right? So I think I came up, if I remember correctly, maybe like with 4 different ideas. And I did this poll. If you're subscribed to my email list, you might actually recall this, where I briefly mentioned what these workshop ideas were. And I invited my email list to vote. And I was like, which one do you think is a whole damn vibe and needs to happen first? Whether it's because you want in on it, or you just think it's cool, or you think it's needed in the online space, or you just feel like it's such a perfect idea based on my expertise. It didn't really matter what the reasoning was, but basically, which one is speaking to you? And you're like, yep, Steph, you got to do that literally right now. So I did that. And I got a couple of like really interesting responses, in part because some of the people that were responding, because we have such good relationships, I was like, ooh, that's the one you think I should do, right? Like, I felt so awesome getting insight from people that really do know me. So I took all that data. I think I asked those questions inside of my email list. I also shared that a little bit, but a little bit more tailored down on my social media, just because I didn't want to spill the beans. Maybe I did it on my close friends list. Maybe that's what I did. It feels so long ago. I don't quite remember, but I think that's what I did. So only a select few people within my community got a chance to see what I was thinking of, what I was brainstorming behind the scenes. So I did all that. And as I did that, one of the people that responded was somebody who had a lot of expertise around one of the topics that I was thinking to potentially one day create an offer / a workshop, to be specific, around. And I was like, oh, I know this person. We had connected previously that past year, right? And we seemed to get along. We didn't necessarily have like a ridiculously strong relationship, or we hadn't known each other that long. But from the experiences that we had from the communication that we'd had, we got along. And this was like an amazing person. And I had consumed a little bit of their content, and they were really good at what they were doing. And so now let's bring human design back, right? I'm going to take a step back. The idea that I had last summer, in a way, was that initial thing that I could have responded to. And in the moment, I decided not to. It was just an idea, it was just a thought. Now, over the holidays, this person coming top of mind, sliding into my email inbox just to say something casual, essentially presented another opportunity, another thought, another idea where, oh my goodness, I could partner up with this person, right? Like, come on. I'm the freaking queen of leadership and visibility. Of course, I'm going to be thinking of how I can partner up with people in order to make life easier and make business easier and have a lot of freaking fun making a lot of money, right? It was just such a no-brainer. So the universe is basically presenting this idea for me to partner up with this person in order to create this workshop that clearly I've been wanting to do for over 6 months, but I've been just holding back because it wasn't the right time, wasn't the right place, and it just wasn't in true alignment yet. So now my body was a full-fledged hell yes. This sounds perfect. So I'll be honest, you can probably relate this to my authority. I waited a second. I thought it out. I made sure that I wasn't just jumping the gun because it sounded really freaking exciting. I wanted to make sure that the emotions would settle. I would pay attention, think this out, and then if it still felt like a hell yes, then I would move forward. But the cool thing is, that entire thought process happened without me knowing that that is my human design strategy and that that's my authority to wait, let the emotions settle, and then listen and decide. And I'm just like, no way. Like, it was truly, truly meant to be, because not only did things unfold in this way where the universe kept sending me signs that it was a good idea and that I should take action, but I was also making this decision from a place where, should I make that decision in this way, you'd know that I'd be the happiest and the most in flow, I guess, when it came to taking action and then seeing how everything would unfold. So honestly, like, beyond mind blown. And that was just when it came to making the decision, because then eventually, once I settled down and figured out, okay, let's go ahead and pitch ourselves to this person, right? Like, we already have a relationship going on, so it won't be out of the blue. We have that rapport. So let me slide in and see if they're at all interested. And it was really cool how everything unfolded, honestly. Like, we hopped on a call. I said my piece. I was like, look, this is what I'm envisioning. I already have all these things kind of like lined up in terms of like ideas and how I think this could come together. But I'm flexible. Like, what do you think? Do you think this is bomb? Are you down? Are you excited? Or are you a hell no? In which case, that is totally fine. And they were a hell yes. Now, layers upon layers, let me tell you this next tiny little bit. I just found out recently, by recently, I mean literally like yesterday, that my business partner, whom we're creating this amazing workshop with, their human design is a projector. And I don't know much about a projector. I'm barely starting to understand my own human design, right? Which is a generator. But from what I understand, projectors, they wait for the invitation. And I'm just like, no freaking way. Because here, I was waiting to respond. So I saw the sign and I responded. And they were waiting for me to invite them. And that's why it felt like a full body hell yes, I want to partner up with you, Steph. Like what are the odds? Like, what are the odds that all these things lined up in order for this to come together? Like, holy mind blown, honestly. Like, this is just one of those things where I'm like, I need to learn more about human design, because clearly this is such a powerful tool for anybody to have, but for entrepreneurs in particular to have, in order to make sure that they're making decisions and they're taking action in a way that feels easy and flowy, where there's no resistance because you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. Which now brings me to the implementation. As we've been now partnering up together and creating everything behind the scenes, it's been really interesting to see how easy it feels and how, yes, we don't have that resistance. On one hand, it's because we're partnering up, right? So whenever we're creating content, whenever we're putting together the presentation so we can record the trainings and upload all the material and make it like really freaking amazing and value packed, it's not just one of you. that's putting in the work. It's two of us that are putting our heads together, coming up with ideas, reviewing each other's ideas and content, adding feedback, fixing things. So it does essentially lift a lot of the weight off of your shoulders from having to do everything from start to finish yourself. And instead, you're just doing a fraction of the work while fully trusting and knowing that your partner is essentially carrying the other 50% of the workload. And it's a really amazing experience. I've done a lot of partnerships and collaborations, but this is the first one that I've done in this scale. And it's just really reinforces the power in community, the power in partnerships, and the power in just coming together to create amazing things in order to, yes, serve people, make even more of a greater impact. Because now not only are we going to get to serve my community through this and all of you, but we're also going to be serving her community as well, and any other new person who runs into us and stumbles into our workshop and just us in general, we're going to be able to serve all of them too. And that's really freaking epic, because this offer, like, I'm not going to say much about it right now. I'm sure I'll share something about it later, but for now I just really want to hammer down the point that being in alignment makes business so freaking easy. It makes running the business easy. It makes serving your clients easy. It makes making money easy, because you're not forcing things. It's just you're doing what you're meant to be doing. And when you do that, I feel like I'm going to get repetitive, but you're not forcing it, right? Because you're not trying extra hard to do something that either you're not meant to do, or you're not good at slash well versed or ready to do at this point in time, or you found dreadful and boring, to be honest, that you're just pulling teeth trying to do it. No, it's the complete opposite. It's fun. It's exciting. So all that energy, it bleeds into your work behind the scenes, but it also bleeds into your work when it comes to the public side of things, like your social media content, when you're showing up and talking about it and promoting it and trying to sell and like book out all the spots, right? Or where you're creating even email sequences. Like, I think maybe I've said this before. If I haven't, here it is. I used to hate writing emails. Now I find it a lot easier. It comes a little bit more natural. I've just kind of like found my groove, right? But it's part of the reason why I found my groove with emails and email marketing in general is because I'm not forcing it anymore, and I'm just being myself, and I'm just allowing whatever comes out of my mouth to come out the way that it does, and trusting that that's good enough. So it's kind of that same energy. When you're so passionate, excited, you're not worried about doing it perfectly. You just say what you want to say, and you know that that's perfect the way that it's being said, because you're so freaking obsessed with it, and you know people are going to love it and be obsessed with it as well. So anyway, human design, how freaking cool is that? Before logging off, before wrapping up this episode, I want to share one short but still very powerful story having to do with human design and me being a generator and responding to something really freaking epic. So a little bit more recent. This wasn't 2 months ago. This was, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. So it was back when I did that in-person live event where I was speaking in front of like 70 people here locally in Kelowna in Canada. And it was such an incredible event, honestly. So freaking cool. It was very high energy. I was having a blast. I had to speak twice on the same subject matter, which was leadership. And I wasn't bored. I wasn't tired. I was like, I'm ready to go. Let's do a third time. Like, come on. While everybody else was getting burnt out and be like, okay, I'm done. I need to like recuperate and like go home and sleep. I was like, nah, I want to do this again. Let me speak. Let me connect with people and have fun. So all that happened. So when the event did actually end, and I was like, oh no, we were on our way home, and I think we talked about it a little bit at home, but it was mostly once we got home to bed, and we're just like snuggled up. I'm in my comfies already, and I'm like, yo, I want to do more of that. Like, I really, really, really love this. Like, I love speaking. I've known that before, ever since the first event that I ever spoke in person, and then all the other events that I speak at virtually. It's my jam. Like, I just thrive through that. And you can tell that it freaking works because every time I speak, my DMs, my inbox, they blow up with people either just being like the sweetest human beings, being, I loved meeting you, I loved what you said, it really resonated, shit like that, or flat out inquiring about my offers and being like, yo, like, how can I work with you? Like, do you have one-on-one coaching? What does it look like? Like, can we hop on a call? Can we talk about it through the DMs? Like, give me more details, right? So I know it works. So not only do I love it and am I obsessed with it and it just like lights me up, but it also works when it comes to my business and attracting the right kind of people that are super vibey and that are ready to take freaking action. So here I was on a natural high being like, I want to do more of this. And my wife literally goes, I'll drive you around the world. Like, I'll be your roadie. Let's go. Let's book a bunch of in-person events in like cool freaking cities. And I like almost shat my pants. I was like, what do you like? No, like, what do you mean? But within like 1.5 seconds, I was like, yes, let's do it. That sounds epic. Like, I'm super nervous. I'm shaking. Like, I'm even a little bit like nervous / like hyper excited right now. Like, my heart's beating like a mile a minute just thinking about how terrifying it would be to like travel the world and speak like that. But as terrifying as it is, it's exactly what I want to do. So that's the conversation we were having. We went to sleep. The next morning, as soon as I pull up my computer, I had just had a bubble bath. I had my smoothie. I had my breakfast. Like, I was like ready to crack down and start working and start supporting my clients. But I opened up my inbox, and right there, sitting in my inbox, there's this email with an opportunity to speak at an in-person event somewhere in the States. And I'm like, oh, holy shit, this is a sign. The universe is sending me a sign and I'm meant to respond. Like, it was a deep, immediate, like, I want this. Like, I need to like solidify / like book this opportunity right freaking now. So I was gonna say mindful, mind you, I was still not aware about my human design and how I make decisions. But what I did next was go sit down, chit chat with my wife, and kind of like walk through this entire opportunity and be like, hey, should I do it? We decided yes. So allowed the emotions to settle, talked it through, decided it was still a hell yes. And we shall see. TBD if this is happening. They're still not, what do you call it? They're still not solidifying, I guess, the speaker lineup for like another month or so. So we won't know until later on in the year. But what are the freaking odds? Again, something that I was basically manifesting, and within less than 24 hours, it manifested in my inbox, and my human design was just like, this is exactly what you need. This is how you make decisions. This means it's a hell freaking yes, you're meant to do this. So anyway, I'll keep you all updated if this speaking opportunity happens, but clearly both that and the workshop that we're working on right now behind the scenes are so meant to be, and they're exactly how I'm meant to be running my business. And the cool thing is it gets to be so much fun. That's it for this week's episode of the Fiercely Visible CEO podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at @StephWharton_ for more valuable content. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts.